What if I told you that Edgar Cayce, the most well-documented psychic in America, provided astonishing insights into what your consciousness experiences in the first 7 weeks following death? These readings were so intricately detailed that they outlined each phase of the soul's voyage with a level of accuracy that astonished even those closest to him. Before we explore these life-altering insights, be sure to subscribe and tap that notification bell, as what you are about to learn will fundamentally change your perception of death, consciousness, and your eternal existence. Have you ever contemplated what truly occurs the instant your physical body ceases to function? Not the interpretations from religious perspectives, nor the anecdotes of near-death experiences, but rather the well-documented psychic readings that chronicle the soul's journey, hour by hour and day by day, throughout those vital first 7 weeks. In the upcoming 24 minutes, I will present 3 astonishing insights drawn from Cayce's readings that will completely alter your perceptions regarding death and consciousness. To begin with, I'll discuss the documented reading that unveiled the experiences of the soul within the first 72 hours, after it recognizes its release from physical confines. Next, I will outline the particular stages your consciousness navigates through during the 2nd to the 4th weeks, as it traverses what Cayce referred to as the borderland realms. Lastly, I will address the most debated aspect: what occurs in weeks 5 through 7, when souls confront the decision that will shape their next cycle of reincarnation. However, there's an even more remarkable aspect to these readings. Edgar Cayce didn't merely touch upon the afterlife experience on a couple of occasions. Throughout his 43-year career delivering psychic readings in Virginia Beach, he furnished thorough descriptions of the transition at death in more than 300 recorded sessions. Numerous individuals, including medical professionals, religious leaders, and bereaved families in search of insights about their relatives, observed these sessions. Reading 136-18, provided in 1925, includes one of the most comprehensive portrayals of the immediate post-death experience ever recorded. The reading was sought by a woman whose spouse had unexpectedly passed away from a heart attack. In a trance, Cayce depicted how the man's consciousness initially underwent what he termed the silver cord loosening, an elusive link between the soul and the body that mystics have discussed for ages. Cayce disclosed in that session something that astonished all those who were there. The soul does not instantly comprehend its death. For several hours, consciousness persists in attempting to connect with the physical realm, striving to communicate with loved ones, reach out to familiar belongings, and even endeavor to return to the body. This stage, referred to by Cayce as the awakening period, generally spans from 6 to 72 hours, varying according to the spiritual growth of the soul and the conditions surrounding death. However, the truly fascinating part is that I will present documented evidence shortly that supports Cayce's insights into these transitional phases. In those initial 3 days, the readings repeatedly conveyed how souls that have just departed undergo what Cayce identified as the review. This differs from the life review commonly reported in near-death experiences and is far more detailed. As noted in reading 26286, provided to a study group in 1936, the soul undergoes an entire sensory replay of each moment from its last life, coupled with an acute awareness of how every action, thought, and feeling impacted others. The stenographer who documented that specific reading, Gladys Davis, later noted in her records that Cayce's portrayal was so rich and intricate that it seemed as though he was genuinely reliving the experience. He recounted witnessing colors beyond the spectrum of physical existence, hearing melodies that surpassed earthly sound, and feeling emotions with a depth that the human body could never fully grasp. You may be questioning how Cayce was able to provide such accurate details. This is where his link to what he termed the Akashic records becomes essential in grasping the authenticity of these afterlife accounts. As per Cayce's interpretations, the Akashic records are a universal repository that encapsulates the soul history of every individual who has ever lived. In Reading 254-68, one of his most renowned sessions conducted in 1935, Cayce described how, while in an unconscious state, his awareness could tap into these records to gather information about the journey of any soul, whether in a physical form or within the spiritual dimensions. However, it's important to note that there is documented evidence suggesting these were not merely mystical imaginings. Numerous readings, delivered years apart for various families, featured matching depictions of the afterlife experience, consistently utilizing the same terminology, outlining identical stages, and detailing the same crucial 7-week timeline. According to Reading 1567-2, presented in 1938 for a mother seeking insight into her late son, the soul starts to experience what Cayce referred to as the borderland realms, which are dimensions of existence that resonate between the physical and the purely spiritual realms. These places are not heaven or hell in the conventional sense. Rather, they are teaching environments in which souls need to face and address unresolved emotional and comedic matters from their last lifetime. Cayce referred to these borderland realms as existing at varying vibrational frequencies, each linked to distinct states of consciousness that the soul cultivated during its physical existence. Souls with a predominantly materialistic mindset found themselves in what he termed the earthbound plane, where they remained deeply drawn to physical experiences and worldly issues. In contrast, those who had attained a level of spiritual awareness transitioned more readily into elevated vibrational realms, concentrating on education and preparation for the next stage of life. The reading for the bereaved mother included a detail that would later showcase Cayce's remarkable precision. He recounted how her son had been reaching out to her via dreams in the second week following his passing, offering detailed insights about a concealed family document she needed to locate. Just 3 days after the session, she found precisely what Cayce had mentioned: her deceased husband's will, tucked behind a photo which had stipulations regarding their son's education fund that she had been unaware of. This revelation transforms our perspective on consciousness and its persistence beyond physical death. In weeks 3 and 4, as noted in various readings from the ARE archives, souls go through what Cayce referred to as the teaching period. At this time, spiritual guides, typically souls that have finished their incarnation cycles or advanced entities, start to assist the recently departed in preparing for a significant choice they need to make during the 5th through 7th weeks. The reading 5-749-3, provided in 1932 for the inaugural ARE study group, offers one of the most comprehensive descriptions of this teaching phase. Cayce indicated that souls gain insights into the cosmic laws they grappled with in their previous life. They engage with lessons regarding love, forgiveness, service, and spiritual development that they either successfully embraced or struggled to apply. However, there is an aspect that left even Cayce's closest colleagues astonished when they later revisited these readings. Souls do not assimilate these lessons through traditional teachings or guidance as one might expect. Rather, they undergo profound empathy with every individual impacted by their actions throughout their lives. They genuinely experience the emotions of others stemming from their words, thoughts, and behaviors. A businessman who participated in one of Cayce's sessions in Virginia Beach later shared that this insight radically transformed how he engaged in daily communications. He understood that each unkind remark, every gesture of goodwill, and every instance of patience or impatience was shaping his future educational journey in the spiritual dimensions. I promised you the most contentious revelation, and now I'm going to share it. Between weeks 5 and 7, as outlined in Cayce's readings, souls are faced with what he termed the choice point decision. This is not about choosing between heaven and hell. Rather, it involves determining their next cycle of incarnation and the specific lessons necessary for their ongoing soul growth. Reading 1947-03, delivered in 1941, meticulously details this decision-making process. Souls are presented with various potential incarnation opportunities, each crafted to assist them in mastering the spiritual lessons they found challenging in previous lives. They observe the geographic locations, physical conditions, and life obstacles of prospective families that could best support their ongoing growth. However, there is an even more remarkable aspect of this decision-making process that many are unaware of in relation to Edgar Cayce's teachings. The readings indicate that souls do not make this choice in isolation. Instead, they are influenced by what Cayce referred to as their soul group. This group consists of other souls with whom they have shared numerous lifetimes, taking on various roles to aid in one another's spiritual progress. At times, a soul that was a parent in one life may be reborn as a child in the subsequent one. A collaborator in business might reappear as a life partner. An adversary could opt to incarnate as a close friend to resolve karmic obligations through love rather than strife. The stenographer's records from Reading 374404, presented in 1944, indicate that during this specific session, Cayce's tone became notably passionate as he recounted a soul electing to be born with a physical challenge, specifically to impart lessons of unconditional love and compassion to their soul group. Parents of a disabled child sought insight through a reading, and Cayce's portrayal of their son's courageous soul decision provided them with healing regarding his life mission. The documented instances from the ARE archives demonstrate that Cayce's readings about the afterlife were not merely philosophical musings. They served as comprehensive maps of consciousness that families could confirm via their own spiritual experiences with their deceased relatives. As the 7-week period concludes, it has the potential to fundamentally alter your perception of your current existence. According to Reading 1152, given in 1937, souls that navigate this transition successfully enter what Cayce referred to as the preparation realm. Here, they may spend a duration ranging from months to centuries, getting ready for their next life, depending on their level of soul development and the intricate lessons they have opted to learn. However, as indicated by various readings, some souls elect not to reincarnate right away. These highly evolved souls might opt to act as mentors for those who have recently passed away or engage in activities across various dimensions to aid in the spiritual progress of consciousness throughout the cosmos. What stands out most about these readings is their remarkable consistency over decades of records. Whether Cayce was delivering a reading for a mourning widow in 1923 or for a spiritual study group in 1944, the core elements of the 7-week transition period remained unchanged, while still offering unique, individualized insights into each soul's journey. Yet there's something truly astonishing regarding the accuracy of these readings. In 1928, Cayce conducted reading 1-6524 for a woman whose mother had died just 3 weeks earlier. During the session, he recounted her mother's present experiences in the borderland realms with such precise detail that the woman later validated several pieces of information he could not have possibly acquired through ordinary means. Cayce depicted her mother meeting her late father, who had passed away when she was just 12 years old. He quoted their reunion conversation word for word, described how her grandfather presented himself in a spiritual form, and mentioned a specific childhood memory they had of a concealed garden behind their farmhouse in Kentucky. The woman confirmed each and every detail, including the garden that had been washed away by a flood many years before Cayce was even born. This extraordinary level of evidential precision is evident throughout the afterlife readings. In Reading 792, delivered in 1934, a man's experience during his 4th week after passing is recounted with such clarity that his widow could confirm specific details about relatives he met in the afterlife. These relatives were ones she had forgotten, but Cayce's reading inspired her to revisit old family records. What adds to the remarkable nature of these confirmations is that Cayce frequently shared details about the departed, their ongoing endeavors, and their learning processes in the spiritual realms, which the family could later validate through dreams, meditative experiences, or occurrences that aligned precisely with Cayce's predictions. Moreover, there's an essential element of the 7-week journey that fundamentally alters our approach to preparing for our own transition. As noted in Reading 5756-4, given in 1932, the ease or challenges a soul encounters during these 7 weeks are directly related to the spiritual preparation fostered throughout their lifetime. The readings of 281, delivered in 1935, include a prophecy concerning teachings about the afterlife that hold significance today. Cayce foresaw that as humanity drew near to the new millennium, an increasing number of individuals would begin to experience direct conscious connections with loved ones who had passed away during the 7-week transition period. This connection would aid in reconciling the divide between material and spiritual perceptions of existence. We are currently witnessing the fulfillment of this prophecy, as a growing number of Americans share experiences of meaningful dream visitations, signs, and communications with deceased relatives, frequently occurring within that vital 7-week time frame that Cayce outlined many years ago. The implications of comprehending this 7-week process are profound for our present lives. Understanding that every thought, word, and action will be perceived from the viewpoint of those we influence fundamentally alters our interactions with family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. Dr. William McGarry, a physician who extensively engaged with Cayce's medical interpretations at his clinic in Phoenix, noted that grasping the afterlife process outlined in these readings brought a sense of tranquility and purpose to his terminally ill patients, something that conventional religious beliefs often fail to offer. They began to perceive death not as a conclusion, but as a passage to ongoing learning and growth. Furthermore, Cayce's teachings also offer practical applications for everyday living. In Reading 1567-8, delivered in 1938, he specifically details what he referred to as preparation practices that souls can cultivate while in physical form to facilitate a smoother and more spiritually enriching 7-week transition. The initial practice he mentioned was what Cayce labeled as daily consciousness review. Rather than postponing the full life review until after passing, he suggested dedicating 15 minutes each night to reflect on the day's interactions from the viewpoints of those you met. Consider how your remarks impacted the grocery store attendant. What feelings did your impatience evoke in your family? In what ways did your gestures of kindness create a positive ripple effect on others? Cayce noted in Reading 262-115 that individuals who engaged in this daily reflection during their lives navigated the post-death review phase much more swiftly, having already consciously processed and gained insights from their experiences. They entered the borderland realms well-equipped for the profound spiritual teachings that awaited them. The second preparatory practice that consistently appears in the readings focuses on cultivating what Cayce termed interdimensional awareness. This involves regularly recognizing that physical reality is merely one aspect of a multidimensional existence, where consciousness functions simultaneously across various levels. Reading 1947-4 explains that souls who engaged in meditation, prayer, and dream work during their lives found it significantly easier to navigate the spiritual realms after death, as they were already accustomed to non-physical states of awareness. They experienced no shock or confusion when existing without a physical body, since they had frequently accessed heightened awareness throughout their earthly experiences. An intriguing case recorded in the ARE files pertains to a woman named Sarah Thompson, who participated in Cayce's study groups in Virginia Beach during the 1930s. She had been applying the preparation techniques outlined in the readings for over 2 decades prior to her death in 1952. 6 weeks after her passing, her daughter sought a reading concerning her mother's experience in the afterlife. Reading 39-7-6-29 indicated that Sarah had navigated the 7-week transition phase in just 3 weeks, thanks to her spiritual readiness. Rather than facing difficulties with the adjustments to reality and the review of her life, she promptly entered the teaching phase and had begun to assist other newly departed souls as a guide. The reading portrayed her as glowing with the happiness derived from serving in spiritual dimensions. Additionally, these readings offer solace to those mourning the departure of loved ones. Rather than questioning the well-being of their family members, individuals can gain insight into the particular journey their loved one is undergoing and learn to offer spiritual assistance through prayer and meditation during the vital 7 weeks. Cayce's reading 14-7-2-2 highlights how living relatives can support souls in the transition phase through concentrated prayer and sending thoughts of love and forgiveness. We can aid departed souls in navigating through their learning stages and making choices that promote their highest spiritual growth. Perhaps the most significant takeaway from these afterlife readings lies in their insights regarding the purpose of our present life. If we are to fully empathize with everyone affected by our actions, then each moment in this existence offers us a chance to foster experiences of love, healing, forgiveness, and spiritual growth, all of which aid in the evolution of our souls. The remarkable precision of Cayce's readings concerning the afterlife grants us a special insight: the awareness to live more consciously, understanding that our decisions impact not only this life, but also our perpetual journey of spiritual advancement. As we near the conclusion of our discussion on Edgar Cayce's afterlife readings, reflect on this. You now have access to knowledge that was previously deemed too sacred or controversial to share freely. These are not merely spiritual beliefs or philosophical doctrines. Rather, they are documented psychic insights that have offered solace and clarity to countless families for nearly a century. The 7-week transition phase described by Cayce signifies only the start of the soul's ongoing existence beyond physical death. His readings indicate that consciousness persists in learning, evolving, and growing through various dimensions of experience, consistently striving for deeper love, wisdom, and spiritual comprehension. If these insights about consciousness and life after death have broadened your perspective on the profound purpose of existence, be sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video with others looking for truth regarding humanity's spiritual essence. Please comment below with your own experiences related to signs or messages from loved ones who have passed away. You may find it astonishing to learn just how many individuals have encountered the same phenomena described in Cayce's readings many years ago. The insights found in Edgar Cayce's documented readings provide a guide for living and dying with heightened awareness, compassion, and spiritual intent. In a society that frequently emphasizes only material achievement and physical well-being, these teachings serve as a reminder that we are eternal souls experiencing a temporary human existence, where every decision we make plays a role in the remarkable journey of consciousness evolution that extends well beyond this life. However, there is one last revelation from the readings that I have yet to disclose, and it may be the most uplifting message of all. Reading 5749-14, delivered in 1940, features Cayce's account of what he referred to as the homecoming experience, which occurs after the 7-week period for souls who have successfully completed their transition. He characterized this as an experience of immense joy and awareness, surpassing any happiness attainable during physical existence. The soul undergoes a full reunion with what Cayce referred to as its spiritual family, not merely lost relatives, but the whole collective of souls with whom they have traveled through numerous lifetimes, learning and evolving together over centuries of shared journeys. In this session, Cayce's voice reportedly became so charged with emotion that numerous attendees were moved to tears, touched by his portrayal of the love, acceptance, and celebration that greet each soul returning to the spiritual realms. He described colors more vivid than earthly rainbows, music resonating with the essence of universal love, and a feeling of belonging so profound that all earthly feelings of isolation and separation are absorbed into a state of perfect unity. According to the readings, this experience of returning home lays the groundwork for whatever decisions the soul may take next, whether it be preparing for reincarnation, assisting as a spiritual guide, or exploring alternative dimensions of consciousness growth. The essence of the soul originates from a foundation of unconditional love and support. It is never isolated, never subjected to judgment, and consistently uplifted in its infinite quest for spiritual growth. These ideas transcend mere philosophical notions, as they are backed by documented accounts from one of the most reliable psychics in America, whose readings have been observed, recorded, and authenticated by thousands over a span of 40 years. The remarkable uniformity and richness of these descriptions of the afterlife throughout numerous readings potentially offer the most comprehensive representation of consciousness survival ever presented to humanity. For you personally, this carries significant implications. Each relationship obstacle you encounter, every chance to opt for love rather than fear, and every instance where you can choose forgiveness over bitterness are not fleeting earthly occurrences, but rather timeless investments in the evolution of your soul, influencing your 7-week transition and what lies ahead. The text implies that grasping this process can significantly improve your present life experience. Recognizing that consciousness persists and that love goes beyond physical death allows you to live with increased bravery, profound compassion, and a more genuine sense of purpose. You can confront life's challenges with the understanding that they are merely temporary learning moments in an everlasting journey of spiritual development.